Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. So today I think I have a very nice video for you guys that I do think will give you a lot of good information, especially on balancing farming and ganking. So I definitely want to get, into just kind of talking about when you should decide on ganking versus farming, and like focusing on efficiency, because you guys know I really talk a lot about how to be very efficient in the jungle and how to like really make sure you're min-maxing your time. But as I've been kind of getting higher and higher, I'm noticing when I kind of observe some higher elo junglers that they do a few things that I don't do. So the first one would be that video I released recently where I was from the top lane perspective, but where the junglers will really make sure that they can find opportunities to get turret plates and potentially re-gank a lane they already ganked or a winning lane to really get, a lot of value out of that. But then the next thing that I'm really trying to figure out is sort of how often I should and shouldn't be ganking, or when I should be giving up some of my farm to stop ganking. So even here, the first thing I did this game was I started blue side because I knew that a Volibear will usually start red side and will want to level 5 dive my teammates. And so I want to be matched with a Volibear to avoid, or to help my team avoid his dive. And so that's already the first thing I did in this game, which I think is kind of valuable to talk about, is just changing up my pathing to see if that will work. And then here we end up seeing them get very low, and so I wanted to see if I could force a kill onto this Kai'Sa. Unfortunately, since I did not have my third ability immediately up, I wasn't able to one-shot her. And then here, because my millionaire got a kill and I'm level 4 to level 3 on volley, I thought I could maybe win this fight. What I didn't take into account is that my bot lane are a lot lower than theirs, and that was obviously kind of dumb of me, and so then we end up dying when we shouldn't have died there. So that's a mistake by me, and you can see the game doesn't go perfectly. But again, what we're learning from this is the thought process and the things that matter. So, mistakes are going to happen, and what matters is really learning from thought process that we go through and kind of just observing all that type of stuff. So again, balancing farming from ganking really depends on your champion a lot. And I think a thing that I've struggled with, and that I kind of learned recently from playing Warwick jungle, is that you really need to play around your champion identity. So a champion like Warwick, obviously because of his passive, really wants to gank a lot, and he doesn't scale that well. So he's really focused on ganking because he's not going to be that useful farming up to 4 items when he's just not the best scaling champion, and he doesn't rely on gold as much as some other champions. So champions like Vi as well, they don't necessarily need gold that badly. So since I blew the Kai'Sa flash earlier, I decided to re-gank and grab a kill there because I knew level 4 to level 5, when she has no flash, I can pretty much guarantee a kill on her, which I do there. And then worst case scenario, a Volibear and a Galio both ult in, and we still get a 1-for-1 trade. So that is the first thing where you can see normally I would have gone topside and farmed because my topside camps were spawning. But I knew I had that little window where she had no flash and she was going to be pushed up on that wave. And I decided I'm going to go for this play because my ultimate is nearly a guaranteed kill. So when you have a champion like a Warwick ultimate, like a Vi ultimate, or like a Jarvan ultimate when they have no flash or whatever, you can go for these types of ganks even if you're giving up farm, because you can see how my camps, they were just respawning, so it's not like I'm wasting that much time as long as I go back right after the gank and now I go farm them like I did here. And so then hovering lanes is another really important thing. Since I know that I'm matched with Volibear and my teammate is pushing aggressively and winning the lane, I want to put myself in a direction to be in the top side quickly, even if I'm giving up my camp, like my Gromp there. Because say the Volibear wanted to dive my teammate, we would win the 2v2 because we're just stronger. Now instead, he ends up just getting the kill. And this is good too, because now it gives me prio to go for an invade. And so I get over 90 gold from that invade on the volley there. I get a bit of an advantage there, and then I can go right back to farming my Gromp afterwards, which allows me to now get Trinity. So normally I would get Trinity by clearing 3, or by clearing each quadrant twice, like my 2 quadrants twice. But instead, I've only done 3 clears of my quadrants, and then I got an invade on them, I got a gank, and I did some of these other things. So I really was able to balance that well, playing around my ultimate. So again, if you guys are wondering some of the main things for when you should be balancing ganking and farming, the first thing is think about what the enemy does. Hence why I covered my Aatrox there, or hence why I'm pathing the same side as Volibear to avoid him diving my teammates. You want to make sure you're thinking about that. Then think about how good your ganking is. Again, Volibear, Vi, Warwick, they have nearly guaranteed kills on their ultimates. So when you have these abilities up, you can sometimes forgo farming if you see a very likely kill. But if you're playing a champion like Diana, who has decent ganking but not great ganking, or Zed or these other things, it's less guaranteed, and so then you should only take the kills if they're guaranteed, especially because these champions like Diana and Zed, they rely on gold to be able to one-shot people a lot more than champions with CC. And so in those cases, you should be a lot more adamant on farming. Or if you're playing a champion with a really slow clear speed like Camille jungle, you need to be over focused on farming early game. So this is really the thing that you need to understand, again, is what champion is strongest. And then here again, I am playing around my Aatrox because he's doing well so far. And so I grab the Herald, I drop the Herald onto his lane rather than going to Dragon where my team was losing. Makes a lot more sense to play around this, and I'll see if I can find a potential invade. I don't find anything, so I see maybe there's a gank opportunity. If not, then I'm just going to go farm. But if we see a gank opportunity, we'll obviously go for it. And then because here, notice, again, this is another example of me covering my teammate where I knew Volibear was on the bot side because we saw him on vision, and I saw the enemy pushing the wave, which makes it very likely to expect a possible gank. And so I rotate and try to help cover the dive, which dissuades Volibear from following further and saves my teammate's life. So even though in this situation, again, I'm giving up farm, I'm able to find a really nice angle where I can now dissuade the enemy from ganking, and they're not really able to do much. And then we spot the Galio on vision here, and we cancel his dash with our ultimate, which you're going to see me do again later in the game. So that's something you can do, mechanically speaking, with Vi against a Galio. When you see him dash backwards, when you know he's going to dash into you right after, do that. And then notice how now my team is being really aggressive, but instead I'm going to focus on efficiency now because I've used my stuff. I used my ultimate, so I don't really have great ways to gank anymore, and so I decide it makes more sense to farm. And then because none of my team is top side, I'm covering a lane as a top laner, which is another, or as a jungler, I'm covering the lane, which is another really important thing that I, again, have observed from watching some players who are just a lot better than me at jungle, such as Corrupt, for example, is one of the main players I learned this from. He's really, really good at doing this. He's been rank 1 before. He's a really good jungle player and everything. He will cover lanes quite frequently, take gold from lanes, especially past 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and he'll be very lane focused. He'll, you know, do the stuff, waiting, taking a lot of plates in lane, all these types of things. And these are some of my weaknesses as a jungler. As a jungler, I'm very consistent. I'm able to find myself gold every game and get ahead and whatever. But sometimes I'm not able to put myself in those positions where I can get 5 or 6 kills early game or get myself really, really ahead. But my decision making in this specific game was much more focused, you know, in a way where I could get myself very, very ahead if the ganks worked out. And if they didn't, I'm still up 2k gold on the Volibear because I'm still farming really efficiently and utilizing the fact that Vi has a fast clear speed to still stay in a perfectly fine spot. And then now, because we see my Ahri is coming towards us, we're going to look for a potential gank because we saw the enemy a bit low. Our Aatrox is here where we see that Camille is on the other side of the map. And so this is a perfect opportunity to look for a potential dive onto a Kai'Sa, which is exactly what we do here. So again, playing around our teammates as well. Who are the strong people? What are the strong people doing? These types of things. And then Aatrox, he gets a bit, you know, ham here. He goes a bit ham. He tries to do too much, but at the end of the day, still not bad. And then because I'm a map hacker, I'm able to find the Volibear here. I'm not actually a map hacker, to be clear. I just got lucky and predicted that he would be there, and we got the dash onto him. And so then we're able to get another dash onto him and end up getting the kill. So again, a lot more kill focused, but notice how I still have no camps up on my side of the map. I was farming those camps pretty efficiently. And then once we, you know, find gank opportunities, if we think that the enemy have a very likely chance of killing our teammates because of their resources they have, such as a Volibear ultimate or other things like this, then we're gonna wait, you know, not farm right away, and we're gonna go help them. But if we think our team's probably chilling, we'll farm and then we'll go help them. And again, champion identity is a big thing for this. Like I said, Vi very good at this. Some champions who are much more farm focused or slower clear speeds can't do this quite as much. But yeah, these are some of the main things because I'm really I'm learning a lot this season, honestly, that I haven't like kind of learned before. And again, when it relates to the jungle role, the main things that I've learned this season, and these are things I've learned as a player who'd already, you know, reached really, really high playing jungle. It had been like probably my best role overall when it came to climbing. And here again, we're going to just, you know, the Galio goes forward. We're going to take a quick kill on him. And then we're going to try to see if we can get Camille before we end up going back to farming again. So ends up, you know, not quite getting the kill on her, but we get her ult out. So it's still pretty fine. And then notice how here, my team is all fighting mid, but I don't have my ultimate again. And I don't really have any resources to be useful in the fight. So this is when I decide to farm. Because of the fact that even though like there's a lot of people mid and they're fighting and whatever, I don't have as much I can do. So I'm like, okay, let me grab my blue buff, but then I'll just kite the blue buff towards here. So if my team really does need me, I can come really quick. But yeah, again, like I said, the main things I've been learning so far about, you know, setting up, going for turret plates after getting a gank, making sure you think about what the enemy jungler needs to do and trying to deny that. Like I said, denying the Volibear from this. One specific game I was playing against the Nyla, and we ended up losing because the Nyla was able to get super, super fed. Even though I was really strong, obviously Nyla's way more useful with gold. The Nyla was Corrupt, the player I was talking about earlier, and this is kind of where, you know, this revelation came from a little bit. But playing against him, I noticed how he kept covering like the opposite side of me, like I tell you guys to do, right? And normally I'm not used to a player actually doing the things I would tell you guys, because a lot of times, you know, most junglers, they're not very good at the game. And so when he was really behind in the game, he was playing for the turret bounties and getting himself very ahead, and the rest of his team was still very behind. And because he's Lulu Nyla, they're extremely strong late game. And so I played around, I played incorrectly around their win condition, because I didn't try to stop or deny the Nyla from getting fed. Instead, I tried to get myself further ahead because I kept making plays on the opposite side of the map. And so in this type of scenario where you're trying to deny an enemy from getting ahead, you need to be covering them and playing same side. Just like here, I played same side as Volibear by purposefully making my pathing go towards him. And then here, you know, we got some kills. I don't really need to talk about those kills in mid lane because that was a pretty straightforward fight where we just ended up, you know, popping off and whatever. And again, very efficient still. Oh, and the last thing I learned about jungle that I think is important to mention, and this I really learned from watching some Chinese jungle players play, especially like Warwick players and whatever, is that they are totally fine with sometimes sitting on some gold. Like normally I would tell you guys, you know, like I would have backed a couple seconds, like maybe a minute ago when I had like 1500 gold. But here in this situation, I'm already really ahead. So even if I don't recall right away, I'm still going to be able to fight the enemy. And then I have much better tempo if I'm staying on the map longer, because I don't have to recall and then go back and then recall again and then go back. I can just take one recall later after that. And this is not something you want to do always. Like for example, if an objective is spawning soon, you need to recall on pretty much whatever gold you have, unless you have like nothing valuable to buy. But because of the fact that there's nothing specific up, I'm okay with staying around a little longer to try to, again, find these picks on a side lane onto a Camille or something. And then after this, notice how I don't stay around the whole time. I know my team has got them by that point. And so I think the enemy might try to sneak a Baron when they see a jungler on the opposite side of the map, right when Baron's spawning. And so I decide I need to immediately go to the Baron to make sure that can't happen. And so even though, again, we look for that pick, we don't overstay for that pick or overforce or whatever. And now here, I'm sitting on 4k gold. I see the enemy going to fight, so I skip my blue buff again. Maybe in like a past, you know, game, I might have greeted the blue buff, but instead I decide I'm going to immediately cover my team, because that's really what actually matters in the game. And these are kind of the things that I've, you know, been struggling with and starting to improve on. And so then here we do find an angle onto the Kaisa, and then we get a really nice play. And so again, notice how I'm sitting on 4k gold here in this fight, but because I'm already so far ahead, it's still pretty fine, and we're able to win the fight and set up. And it's important to not over-aggress when you are sitting on a lot of gold. Like, you have to be very aware of the fact that you're weaker and you're sitting on a lot of gold. And you don't want to overforce a fight if you don't have to. But sometimes you have to be there to cover your teammates or other things like this. And this is really how I'm trying to kind of improve my gameplay, is be a bit more player-focused in my decision-making and a little less, because I kind of tell you guys to treat your teammates like AI, or to play, you know, as efficient as possible. And I think this is a good baseline, because again, this is what's gotten me to being rank 5, rank 6, you know, multiple seasons in a row. This season I've hit top 10 as well, and I'm currently around top 15. So like, this efficient gameplay style has gotten me extremely high and worked very well for me. But now I'm trying to sort of optimize it to become a bit more player focused in my decision making, make sure I incorporate, you know, again, what does the enemy jungler want to do? Do they want to be opposite of me? Do they want to be same side as me? Do I want to, you know, differ that or make that different? Do I need to stay on the map right now? Can I recall? Do I need to spend my gold? All these different types of things. Again, dropping some of the fundamental gameplay, you know, things at some time, because again, you need to understand the fundamentals of Wild Rift. But once you understand the fundamentals, you can kind of start, you know, cheating the fundamentals a little bit, or going for other plays that normally wouldn't be a good play if you're following some type of rule book, because obviously every game is unique and you kind of need to be able to think yourself, do I need to differ from my normal play style or something like this? And so this is kind of really the purpose of the video, is to show you guys you can be very efficient and you should be very efficient, but you need to take things into account, such as your champion, you know, what your champion actually wants to do and your champion strengths, this type of thing. Or you want to make sure that you're keeping in mind the enemy jungler, what they want to do, you're playing around your win conditions, all these types of things. Again, I didn't go over a lot of this late game gameplay, because most of the things were about the early ganking that I really wanted to kind of talk to you guys about. And just kind of this general mindset shift that I've sort of had as a player. And then here we thought we couldn't end, so I ended up going bot side, but it turns out we could have ended. And so I ended up just wasting some time here, but my team ends up ending the game anyway. Shout out to them. But this was a very good jungle carry, and again, a lot of it came from me covering and making this Volibear's game really difficult and using these things. So I think this is a bit of a higher level sort of thing to talk about in comparison to, you know, some of the lower level concepts we talk about that are more fundamental. And so if you're trying to incorporate these types of things in your gameplay, just be aware that you should first understand the fundamentals of the game. Watch my jungle guide, watch some of my other jungle coachings if you're really trying to get good at those basics. And then if, say, you're a grandmaster jungle level player, you can start trying to incorporate these types of things in your gameplay when you understand how all the champions interact more, you know, like thoroughly. You understand your own champion, all these types of things. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do coaching for $15 an hour. Just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description if you're interested in that. And I have memberships on my YouTube channel for $5 a month, where you get access to all of my coaching notes and some other cool perks as well. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video.